All right, welcome to Your Time, Your Money, the show where your time is just as valuable as your money, and we know that. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I think a unique episode for us, right?
Yeah, this is a different one.
Yeah, I think
I'm excited.
Yeah, we're going to center around recruiting and succession planning. So today we have a guest speaker, which we're excited about, Tom Taylor with Cetera. I'm going to let Tom do kind of a brief intro into his role, his title with the company, and hopefully engage in a good conversation about, I think, the unique advantages that we've found through Cetera.
Yeah.
Right, that we didn't have at our prior broker-dealer.
Correct.
And I think it's good to engage in that conversation about, a rep that maybe is looking to retire, as well as a rep that's looking to, maybe onboard to a platinum package where there's more support within that role. So, Tom, why don't you tell our listeners a little about, kind of your title with Cetera and, kind of some of the things that you've seen in the years that you've been in the business.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, my name's Tom Taylor. I'm the Chief Sales and Growth Officer here at Cetera. Been with the firm for 27 years, so really been here through the evolution, the creation of the firm 24 years ago in 2000, and seen the evolution of this concept of channels and communities that are so key to Cetera's success. But in my role as Chief Sales and Growth Officer, I have the pleasure of working with all of our channel and community leaders across all of Cetera, which means I get to spend time with all of our 12,000 advisors across the organization, and each one of them is very unique. Every advisor is unique in how they run their practice, but what we do see is that the channels and the communities are like-minded advisors. And we're a big believer that like-minded advisors like to talk to each other and learn best from each other. As advisors learn best from each other. I can come and speak and talk to advisors, but they want to hear from each other. They learn best from each other. And so kind of keeping those groups together so that they are sharing best practices and focusing on the way they do business, because there's lots of different ways to do this business.
Yeah, and our listeners today are this is more geared towards advisors, right? So if we have listeners that are independent clients, they might not be familiar with multi-channel and that type of stuff, but we're speaking specifically to advisors today. And I think that's unique because the common trend today is to go to one channel, right? Almost like a cookie cutter approach with advisors.
Everything's the same for everybody.
Sure.
Yeah, right. And I think that's a detriment because there's advisors that we find all the time that are better in a bank channel or better in an independent model. And so really, I think Cetera's done a good job of developing this unique value proposition of multi-channel. And I look at it from the other standpoint is if you're onboarding an advisor, you might have an advisor that's a mediocre advisor because they're an independent with no support. But then you move them into a branch channel like we're in with support, and all of a sudden they become an A advisor,
right.
And their business doubles or triples,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like there's that growth proposition.
Yeah, and I think from a company standpoint, it's certainly most advantageous for scale to have one community. I mean, that's why I think you see a lot of firms doing that these days, is it's the easy sell to the shareholder, it's easy sell to the board of directors because it's scalable. You deliver everything kind of cookie cutter one way.
Yeah.
And the channel and community structure at Cetera is less efficient. But we believe that efficiency loss is more than increased by the growth that we can make sure that an advisor gets by being in the right community, being nurtured in that right community.
Yeah, and I think that's very important that an advisor listening today would understand that, is that most of those other communities that are going single channel, they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole in some cases, right? And I know I talk with a lot of advisors that are looking to retire, and just the lack of support or the lack of office culture or the lack of brainstorming between connect groups and things along that lines, it's just not there with other platforms. And for us to be able to offer those platforms and really steer an advisor into one that's more conducive to how they're going to build their business, I think is very important, right?
I'm sitting here thinking about how just over 5 years ago we became part of Cetera, and for me, I had been part of mergers and acquisitions in the past, and the culture had always gone down with other companies, not in this situation. But when we became Cetera, it was immediately sort of well, how have you done it before? Okay, great. Here's how we can enhance that. It wasn't, don't do it that way anymore because this is our way. It was great. Here's some ways that we can support it. And I'll tell you, it was the first experience that I had in my 20+ year career at that point of, wow, getting that feeling of this is a great thing. Again, speaking from personal experience, but even as a group, coming over and getting those sort of being able to continue our unique position. So
yeah, and that benefit, I think, and we see that in some merger and acquisitions that Cetera has done recently, is that they're looking to take the best of that corporate culture they're acquiring,
right,
and then push that out to their channels to make Cetera even stronger.
Yeah.
Right. Versus, hey, we bought you, now you're going to do it our way.
Now you do it our way.
Yeah, I mean, the companies we acquire are successful companies. We don't want to slow that down. We want to add fuel to the fire. And telling somebody that you got to do business a different way, it never works.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny because advisors, they have the reaction you had initially, and then they're like, when's it going to change? And I kind of laugh because I get that from advisors that joined at the beginning 24 years ago. And it's like, if we were going to do that, we would have done it.
You would have done it. Yeah.
Again, our unique value proposition in the marketplace is, I believe we're the only firm today that is out there that is really catering to the advisor as opposed to forcing the round peg into a square hole, or whichever way you're supposed to say that, of doing what's best for the company. I feel like we're doing what's best for the advisor to the detriment of the company because we're technically less scalable because of that.
Well, I think that's a true understanding of knowing who your client is. Right?
Absolutely.
Cetera understands their client is the advisor base.
I was just going to say, and then that in turn the benefit goes to the clients directly that we service. That's a huge support system.
Yeah.
Right from top to bottom.
Yeah, and we've had some very large mergers to the firm recently.
We have.
I mean, we've had Advantax most recently.
Yeah, almost 3,000 advisors. We had the Securian Group that joined, now called Cetera Wealth Management Group, 900 advisors.
Yeah, Forrester's a couple of years, and
Yep.
Voya right after us, I believe, or was before us. Actually, I think Voya was just before.
Voya was just after you.
Oh, just after.
Because they just celebrated 3 years in June.
Okay.
So,
Excellent.
and you guys celebrated your 5-year in June.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, and we don't do mergers and acquisitions just for the sake of scale.
Yeah.
We do mergers and acquisitions strategically. There are lots of opportunities. Cetera gets the pleasure of being at the table for every deal. And we generally win the deals that we want to win. And the deals that go to other firms generally are deals that we weren't as competitive on purposely because we didn't think it was as good of a strategic fit, or maybe we didn't bid at all.
Well, and there's
because
that
it just wasn't a good fit.
There's that time value of money too, right? It's how much time or frustration is it going to be on the onboarding or whatever that you can't put a value to.
Yeah, and what are the goodies that firm brings to the rest of the Cetera community?
Yeah.
I mean, with the Securian, we added a trust company. With Avantax, we're adding tax smart capabilities for all of our advisors.
Yeah.
So it just accelerates that acceleration of growth. And if we can help our existing advisors grow organically, that's our number one job.
Yeah, and so if advisors are listening out there that are thinking of, hey, you know what, I want a platform that's more in line with servicing me as a client, and I'm interested in coming aboard onto that platform. What's the best way for them to negotiate, I guess, the recruiting world of Cetera as far as like the onboarding? Is it directly online? Is it going through the links online and enrolling in their detailed information for a recruiter to reach out to them? Is that the best or most efficient avenue they should pursue?
I mean, any avenue works. Certainly, if you know an advisor here at Cetera, I'd start by talking to them. Mm-hmm. You can always talk to a recruiter. Recruiters are recruiters. Right. Recruiters are going to tell you what you want to hear. I don't care what company they're with. Cetera recruiters are going to tell you all the best about Cetera, just like all of our competitors' recruiters are going to tell all of our advisors what's great at their firms. I think you really learn about a firm by talking to their advisors. Sure. And so that's the first place I would start. You can certainly go to our website. We've got a whole recruiting and a little AI chatbot that is happy to engage with an advisor to answer questions about the firm and our different communities. But like I said, I would just start with an advisor.
Yeah, and that was a little leading question because I knew that's where he was going to go with it. But I brought that up because I think IronTree itself, the way that we have built out our firm is to really logistically acquire a practice, and the practices we've acquired in the past, we've had 1% or less attrition rate because of the program that we have of onboarding clients and onboarding a succession rep, whether it's within Cetera or whether it's from an outside source. And I think that the testament to that is advisors look at two different things. What are the benefits to them from a succession plan, and what is the benefit to their client they can go back to justify the move, so to speak. So, if you're an advisor and you're looking at a succession plan end of things, the nice thing about Cetera is that Cetera has transition assistance. They have an onboarding team. They have teams that'll help you with repapering, which is the biggest nightmare that most reps have. But then when it comes down to the customer or client service end, it's how do you go back to your client and say, hey, I've brought you here 30 years, and this is why I picked this platform, right?
Yeah. And these people.
Right,
because it comes down to who are you partnering with in your transition.
Yeah. And that's where we've centered that onboarding transition around a minimum of 12-month process where that succession advisor comes on, works hand on hand with us from a relationship standpoint, so we can meet the clients face to face, we can do appreciation events. But the value add, right, for them is what? Weekly podcasts, right? Every week we have a podcast, quarterly marketing calendars, fireside chats, throughout the year, our network of CPAs and attorneys that we work with.
I was going to say economies of scale, on the business practice side of things, and again, it's continued word of support, but the support of that team, that would be brought to the table.
Yeah, and best in class platform as well, right? I think My Advice Architect, got Barron's Award, this last year for the best, advisory portfolio building platform, right? In general terms that people can understand.
Yep.
Along with, we brought on the retirement planning group, we brought on a lot of other services, right?
Absolutely, and continue to add services. Actually, we were in a meeting earlier today talking about some of our new capabilities that Scale is continuing to bring, and having a life change team for those things that you and your team just don't deal with every day. Hopefully you're not dealing with clients dying every week or every month. And so there's uniqueness to those, and having teams that really focus on that. And then from a product offering standpoint, really having the full suite. That's actually, we talk about our channel and community structure, what we talked a little bit about today, but we talk about, we've got big company resources, but we have that small company feel because of the channels and communities. And that's the intent. That's the purposeful intent of the way we're designed as an organization, really focused on that advisor relationship between Cetera and the advisor, and then of course supporting their relationship with their client.
Now, I know you've talked in the past about it, but for a rep that's listening outside of Cetera Network, I believe it's a common trend that most advisors don't have a firm succession plan. And I know we hear it from the top down all the time, is like, hey, get your succession plan done.
Yeah.
What kind of burden does that put on the company when an advisor who may be part of a team passes away, gets in a car accident, has a heart attack, whatever that might be, and they don't have a succession plan, right? From a company standpoint, there's no legal obligation for.
There isn't, and it's not a huge burden on the company. I feel bad for their family. If they haven't done the planning, their practice that they spent their lifetime building may be worthless.
Yeah.
Because technically, from a regulatory standpoint, it gets really tough to pay non-registered individuals a price on a securities wealth management practice,
i.e. your spouse.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's terrifying to me that somebody spends their entire career building a wealth management practice that could be worth hundreds, if not millions of dollars, and because they didn't do the planning, that they harp with clients all the time to do estate planning.
Right.
do your own planning.
Yeah.
And it kills me. And I'm sad to say, every year there are 15 advisors at Cetera out of our 12,000 that die without a plan. It is
Wow.
shocking.
Yeah.
That was the first thing we did when we
Yep.
LLC'd.
Yep.
Was make sure our succession plan was strong.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
but I think that does a good job of explaining to an advisor looking to change platform or develop a succession plan with us here, Cetera and Iron Tree specifically. But I think ultimately those two relationships working together allow us to completely customize that. And if you're a representative and you're out there shopping, because that's what you're doing when you're looking
Right.
to retire, is where am I going to get the best value, where am I going to get the most support, and where am I going to be able to transition my client to. I think to understand that there's two levels of customization that Cetera can offer that most companies can't. One is that level of customization around your platform, around your channel, so to speak. And then the second is the customization around your actual book buy. And with Iron Tree, we can negotiate and work those however you want. I always tell advisors, look, if you want to come in and have it as a 2, 3, 4-year transition, you want to work with your top 10% clients. Maybe you want to be out of the office and traveling. We had one rep that told us they wanted to be on a boat somewhere servicing clients.
Yep.
Is that Cetera allows us to customize that around, as long as our clients are being serviced, as long as that we're bringing value to you and your clients. You might want to consider Iron Tree Financial and Cetera in that partnership that creates a strong succession plan for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it numerous times.
Yep. I was thinking about the components that's also, again, some of the things that Cetera brings to the table, where we get an opportunity to meet advisors out and about. And a couple of them are some of the events that we've done throughout the year. When you talk about channels, a lot of times people think of I'm more in a tax world, and that doesn't really necessarily apply to me over here at Iron Tree, for example. But Tom, if you could just kind of speak to the channels a little bit and how, it's nothing that Cetera hasn't seen, in terms of what particular way or the way someone's currently running their business, that we've seen it.
Yeah, because our RIA is a big trend
Yeah.
in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, today we have 5 channels. We've got the RIA W-2 channel, which is an evolving channel for us and the industry. Of course, we've got the traditional channel, kind of direct the home office supervision. We've got the Cetera Investor channel, the supported independence, where you're really given the opportunity to really focus on your client relationship and let the real estate and everything else be taken care of so you can actually focus on client time. We've got our large enterprise for those small broker dealers or super OSJs out there that are looking to have a partner that understands their business. And then, of course, the advisors under them that like that structure. We've got our financial institution structure and then the tax channel. And so really have it all. And I think it goes to that philosophy of doing what's right for the advisor,
Right.
not necessarily what is most optimum for the firm.
Yeah, and our channel, I think, is the best kept secret within Cetera.
I agree.
Is the fact that we can be independent advisors, build our practice how we see fit.
Yep.
And be able to have setups like this in a branch office location that we don't have to worry about the lease agreement, the print, who's filling the printer, the
Right.
copier. I mean,
Right.
copy ink. Now there was a comedian online. He was going through the price of copy ink versus like oil, blood, everything. And copy ink was like the top. It was like $80 a pound or something like that.
funny.
Book blood was like half of it.
Well, hardware costs, technology costs.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and it drives me crazy when advisors talk about payout. Because last I checked, payout doesn't get deposited in my bank account.
Yeah.
My net does. And my net is after all those expenses. And it's sad to watch a lot of advisors jump to a conversation with payout when they aren't looking at the full picture.
Yeah.
It's almost like that client that says, why am I going to use you rather than go to Schwab?
Yeah.
There's a value there. And it's interesting because advisors are actually taking the flip side of what the conversation they have with a client. that is looking at do it themselves,
Yep.
that's what those high payouts are, is do it yourself.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting
All the
to
reason
me.
you would tell a client not to do it yourself,
Right,
but
and
then
now
you're
you're
doing
gonna
it
do it.
yourself.
Right,
later
right,
on
right.
there.
It's
Yeah.
baffling to watch.
Yeah,
It
it's the
really
same. And
is.
it's the same with succession planning as well. You know what I mean? It's funny. You know, almost every succession plan I've had the conversation with, you know, it starts off about the servicing of the client, but by the end, it's the numbers.
Right.
You know, what are the numbers? Because it's their own retirement, right?
Yeah.
Which is justifiably so. But the nice thing about being in a hybrid model where we're in a position to acquire a practice with Cetera helping us do that,
Right.
is we have two entities coming together to onboard and allows us to really, and a lot of times, offer a premium that they would be able to get somewhere else for the value of the book. So not only are we beating them on the value when they're shopping it out, but we're also beating them on the service model with what we've built here
Correct.
at Iron Tree
Yep.
for that, you know, consistent value add to the client,
Yep.
right? So they're getting the value add on the dollar side, their clients are getting the value add. I don't know about you, but that's a much easier conversation to talk to a 30-year client and say, hey, look, I did my due diligence. I shopped out where the best place to go to make sure your financial plan continues on.
Right.
And I found Iron Tree through Cetera, and let me tell you about all the positives with that. And that's a conversation we almost always win.
Yeah.
And just like Cetera has turned away more deals, the same thing with Iron Tree. There's a lot of deals we've turned away because we didn't think we could adequately service it. And if we think the attrition rate is going to be higher, we're going to back away from that deal because it doesn't make sense to, you know, acquire a book that has 300-400 clients, but you lose half of them the first week in the business.
Right.
That doesn't help anybody
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
Know? So it's a nice symbiotic relationship. So hopefully that does a nice job to those advisors that are looking at that space of succession planning or recruiting in general to see about what Cetera offers. You know, you can reach Iron Tree Financial at irontreefinancial.com. You can find all episodes of yourtimeyourmoney.net for YouTube, Spotify, and Google Play. If you have questions, you can reach us at 43 British American Boulevard in Latham, New York, 12110. Also, 844-444-YTYM for Your Time, Your Money. Have a great weekend, and please refer us on to other advisors that you know are aging out and would consider another career over here at Cetera. We can help service their clients as well. As always, it's your time.
Your money.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Your Time, Your Money. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to share this with friends, family, coworkers, anyone else that you think might be interested. If you do have questions or topics, you can always email them to irontreefinancial@ceterais.com. Please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Spotify, Google Play, and many other sources that were available. And you can reach us at 844-444-YTYM. And as always, it's your time and your money.